welcome Professor Robert Ringel, the managing president of the University of Purdue.
Witamy również pana profesora Mirosława Skibniewskiego, wiceprezydenta Uniwersytetu.
We would also like to welcome Vice President of the Purdue University, Mr. Mirosław Skibniewski.
Proszę Państwa, miło nam jest, że w napiętym programie, który mają tutaj w Polsce, Pan Prezydent znalazł czas, żeby porozmawiać na temat współpracy i również podzielić się swoją wiedzą na temat zarządzania z państwem.
We are very glad that Mr. President, who has very busy schedule, had time to come to us and present you with the knowledge he has in management.
Serdecznie witam.
Dzień dobry. That will be the limit of my Polish for today until we get to the end. And I will say thank you. Goodbye. We have reason to believe, I have been told, that each of you is knowledgeable in English, and so we will not use a translator. So this will perhaps be a test for you. At the end, you will be examined. If you understand what I have said, you will do well. If not, you will do it again. Perhaps you will not sleep. That is important. It is a pleasure to be here. Are you hearing an echo? A bit further from me. Is that better? Is that better? It is a pleasure to be on your campus. One of the reasons I am here is my roots are Polish. My family, my mother's family, is from a small village not too far from your campus, and I will visit there this afternoon for the first time in my life, Kolbishula. Are any of you from Kolbishula? Kolbishula? I get the first. You are from Kolbishula? Welcome. I'm going to talk to you today about change. Change is very important in our life. And you, as students at a new university, starting with a new concept of a university, a private institution, you are very much like pioneers. You are starting something very new. You must be very excited about this opportunity. I will not read the speech. That is the good news. I will not read. But I do want to read a story, which is only a small paragraph, because I think it illustrates a point. The point about change is that you can never slow down or become complacent. There is a wonderful proverb that comes to us from Africa, and it tells us that every morning a gazelle gets up and knows that it must outrun the fastest lion or it will get eaten. And every morning a lion gets up and it knows that he must outrun the slowest gazelle or he will starve to death. So whether you are a gazelle or a lion, every morning when you get up, you'd better start running. That, my friends, is what change is all about. I'm going to talk to you about a process of change at my own university. Let me tell you for a moment about my university. I am responsible for 36,000 students on one campus and an additional 20,000 students on affiliated campuses. So I have the responsibility for 56,000 students. And at my university, on the main campus, we have approximately 2,000 faculty, and on the other campuses, we have about 500 faculty. So I have responsibility for 2,500 faculty. Some of you are in business, curriculum, so you may be interested to know my annual budget is $1.2 billion each year. That is the amount of money our enterprise processes and handles. So it is a very big enterprise. It is a very large university, one of the largest in the United States. Now, what I am trying to be is I am trying to be an agent of change. The American higher education system, and I suggest the Polish higher education system, if it stands still, it will be eaten. If it does not run fast enough, it will starve. And so change must occur. It is difficult to bring about change on a campus. Sometimes people ask me to describe my job, and I say, I am like a caretaker at a cemetery. And they say, what do you mean? And I say, I have 5,000 people under me, but no one listens. That is what change is about. It is leadership. It is trying to have a vision that other people will become excited about and join you. Your president, on my own campus, myself, I cannot bring change about by myself. It must come because the students, the faculty, the staff, the citizens, the people of Poland, the people of the United States, must be excited about a vision. And I, in turn, must be careful to capture the vision that others have. In the United States, we say there are two ways for things to happen: to bubble up and to percolate down. Percolating down does not work. Bubbling up is the way to have change. From the people, change must come. From the students, from the staff, from the faculty. So, the challenge of change. The challenge of change. Yes. The challenge of change is, in essence, to develop an attitude which sees change as a positive attribute.
Does this mean that we are now engaged?
To develop an attitude which sees change as a positive attribute, a belief that we need not lose those things which we value, those attributes that we want to maintain. We have to be secure in this knowledge. So the things which we already do well, at the same time, we have to look for ways to enhance and to build upon our greatness. I talk much on my campus. Well, I could just stop right there. I talk much on my campus. I talk much on my campus about creating a sense of urgency. Complacency is the opposite of change. But there has to be a sense that we have to do it now. There is an urgency that I must create. Now, I believe that change is inevitable. It will happen. The answer, the question that we have to ask ourselves, will we do it in responses to opportunities to improve? Will we be self-motivated, or will we only respond to factors beyond our control? It is much better, I would argue, to do it for our own good, for opportunities that we see and wish to savor, wish to enjoy. Planning is the key to change. You can change, or you can affect the direction of change, the magnitude of change, the speed, the timing, and the acceptance of change. And that, those of you who are in business curriculum, those of you who are in the management curriculum, you will become the agents of change, to lead change. The approach we are using on my campus is to plan, then to do, then to assess, to evaluate, to revise. We continually go in this cycle of revision, doing, assessing, measuring, changing. It is okay to make a mistake. It is all right to make a mistake. If you have a need to make mistakes, I think we all do, I would encourage you to be creative. Don't make the same mistake over and over and over again. That, my friends, is dull. Make new mistakes each time. Make mistakes because you are pushing at the limits of what you can do. Do not get into a rut. Do not get into the same pattern of behavior. So we plan, we do, we assess, we improve, revise, and then we start again. To start with change, I have asked my campus, my colleagues, to ask 5 questions. What do we do? And for whom do we do it? Who are our constituents? Who are the people that we are trying to serve? What do they need? How can we improve in meeting these needs? And then the most difficult question is, after we understand what their needs are, can we set our goals even higher than they expect? There's a wonderful story taught. There's a wonderful story told by Ford Motor Company. I don't know, do any of you drive a new Ford car? Ford making cars? In the United States, Ford, and I assume Poland as well, is a very large maker of automobiles. And the story is told about a person who had a flat tire on a road. It was a dark road. He got out of his car and he was dressed to go to a formal dinner. He was wearing a tuxedo, and he was brand new, he was very clean, just a shower. He had a flat. He got up and he opened the back of his car, the boot of his car. Now, if you go to the boot of your car, what do you expect to find? What would you expect? You have a flat tire, you go to the boot. What would you expect to find? Spare tire. And maybe an instrument, a jack, yes? And an instrument, yes. This person went to the boot of his car, and there was a spare tire, and there was an instrument to lift the car. There was also a pair of white gloves, inexpensive white gloves, in with the tire. Oh, it was wonderful. He put the gloves on, and he was able to change the tire. Kept his hands clean. He then wrote to the Ford Motor Company, telling them there must have been a mistake. A workman, when he was fabricating the car, must have left gloves in the boot of the car. And they happened to be very helpful. He got a letter back from Ford. It was no accident at all. They put a pair of white gloves in with the tire because they anticipated that somebody will need to keep their hands clean when they change the tire. They had done a wonderful thing. They had exceeded this man's expectations for a simple pair of gloves that may be less than a złoty. They had made a customer for life. They exceeded his needs. That is what I am asking my campus to do. Not only meet the needs, but go the extra step. Now, if you want to involve yourself in change, there are a number of strategies that you can use. I know a number of you are into planning strategy. Number one is you can simply reserve the right to play sometime in the future by investing enough, just enough, that you don't fall out of the competition. This is like playing in soccer. Not to win, but trying not to lose. There's not a way to play the game. You have to play the game to win. You can't say, I'd like to stay on the field and I'll be happy if I don't lose. If it just comes out to be a tie, then I'll be successful. But you don't want to invest your effort just to stay in the game. You want to play to win. You can adopt change by recognizing and capturing opportunities in existing markets. You can see where things are going, and you can try, in a sense, to be a player in that market, in that environment. But most importantly, as young people, as faculty, as administration of a fine university, you can shape the future by playing a leadership role in the managing of change, setting the standards and creating a demand. And that is what I think your university is doing. You are not playing by the conventional rules of a state-supported university. You are trying to establish a new way of functioning. Now, based on my experience, this is not an exhaustive list. Each day, I find more obstacles. When I left, I had listed a number. By the time I return, I'm sure there will be more that people are developing while I'm here. I don't know, Eric, the word praises. Shalesta? Shalesta. Avoid shalesta. And making change for the sake of making change. When you lead to change, you must build support for change among people who have the same enthusiasm that you have. A plan for change must have a conceptual base. You must understand where you are going, how you are going to get there, and perhaps most important, when you are there. Some people go through change and they never recognize when they have reached their objective. You must understand that the words of change, the word of change, or the speaking of change, is quick and it is easy. But the substance of change can be your only real objective. One of the little sayings we have in the United States is many people talk the talk, but fewer walk the walk. That translated at all?
Wielu ludzi potrafi mówić o zmianie, natomiast mało potrafi przejść.
I like her coming close much better than I do. The rhetoric of change is quick and easy, but substantive change is the only real objective. Do not overpromise inasmuch as visions of future greatness, which you may not attain soon, tend to make people displeased and disillusioned, and leads people to fail to appreciate the objectives you have achieved, the gains you have achieved. More obstacles, If you believe that yesterday's solutions will solve today or tomorrow's problems, you are doomed to failure. The solutions of tomorrow will be invented today. Were not invented yesterday or years earlier. And this puts a tremendous burden on you as young people entering the employment market and the intellectual life of your country. It is a mistake to assume that present trends will continue. Nothing is more certain than change. Nothing is more certain that what you learn today, you will have to relearn in some other way tomorrow. At my own university, we have long time ago stopped thinking that we could teach you what you need to know for your life. We are concentrating on teaching you how to learn, more so than teaching you what to learn. If you learn, how to ask questions, how to go to the library, how to communicate, how to see directions, then you are truly educated. The facts that you learn today will be outdated in 2 to 3 years, if that. And an obstacle is to neglect opportunities. And I really use the word opportunities here. This is the key word. If you view change as an obstacle, if you view it as something negative, you will fail. You have to look at a challenge not as a burden, but as an opportunity to push beyond. Now, this is mostly from my own university. And so what I've done here is I've tried to predict at my own campus how things will change. Now, I look around this room and I see many young men, many young ladies in the campus. Maybe, hopefully, some of you will go on to become university professors. At my own institution, we are too homogeneous. Is that it? See, I will find many words that I want to translate. The homogeneity, the similarity of the faculty is a serious, serious problem. We need role models. We need examples. We need women sitting on this side of the podium, not only on that side of the podium. Last evening at dinner, we talked about Madame Curie. What a magnificent, brilliant woman, and what she has done for women all over the world as a role model. And I asked last night in Kaplan, the number of women in science, the number of women in engineering. And I was sorry to hear that there were not many faculty women in sciences and engineering. You are the future. We have to change the homogeneity of workforce, to transform it, to celebrate diversity, diversity of race, diversity of gender. This is the future. At our campus, we like to recruit people we know. Well, you know, if two people think exactly alike, you only need one. And on our campus, we are trying very hard to continue to recruit from other universities, not our own graduates. Not that our own graduates are not very good, they are. It's a fine university. But I want on the faculty people who have been trained, have been educated at different places, different countries. Professor Skibniewski is a perfect example. Has his master's degree in Warsaw Technology and his PhD from Carnegie Mellon in the United States. wonderful university, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He is a fine professor, excellent professor of our institution. He brings to our campus a perspective, a background, which is different from mine and different from other people. So we want to recruit new talent. We are working towards teams. When you go out into the workplace, the chances that you will work by yourself are very, very slight, maybe zero probability. You immediately will be put into a team of workers. You'll work with other people. If you are in the science, you may be teamed with someone in management. Or if you are in the sciences and you're in mechanical engineering, you may be teamed with civil or electrical or computer engineers. The time to learn to work in teams is when you're in school, when you are getting your education. We try very hard. We never say, look to your right and look to your left. One of you will not graduate. Some universities do this. They are in the process of having students compete against each other to graduate. We would rather be more careful at selection time and have 100% graduation. There is no honor to say that we take in 100 students and we fail 50 of them. And there is nothing good to be said about that, in my opinion. We are coming to the point of technology is very important on the campus. And the problem we are having is people have worked by themselves and they have taken great pride in doing a job, doing it completely by themselves. We are now at a point of encouraging our faculty and our staff to use technology. And even though it is a bit less personal, we think technology is necessary. This I put on, and people have fun with this. They ask if I like to be messy. I like to be untidy. Life is not tidy. At the end of the day, my desk is not clean. At the end of the day, everything I started was not finished. And we have to learn to live. This is permission now not to clean your rooms, not to do anything. To be tidy, to be clean. But I'm talking here in an abstract sense, is you have to be able to accept questions that do not have immediate answers, questions in which all the pieces do not fit together. That is the state of our society, and hopefully you will learn to accept this. And then predictability. All of us like to work in an environment in which the outcome is predictable. I would suggest that at this time in your lives, you will have to come to accept that there will be chance. There is a sense of chance. Everything, if you want to be predictable, you will always take the same path and do the same thing with the same people. You will know the outcome. Take a chance. Ride on the wild side of making decisions. Universities are going to have to change. By hierarchy, we come here again to the bubble down, the bubble up, and the percolate down. I think in my own institution, Mr. President, I say this with respect, at my own institution, we have changed, or we are trying to change, from a very top-down, very hierarchical administration to an administration that is more on a plateau, which is more spread out. More people are involved in decision-making. We have to accept the fact that our university, your university, is not only going to have a national impact, it will have a global impact. At lunch today, I learned your university is already participating in a program that is international in scope, the Midwest University Consortium. And that is distance learning in which, by electronic means, through the networks. Coursework is being delivered to your campus. You are part of a global enterprise. Well-defined reporting structures we talked about. And this is something I ask my wife to remember, to remind me each morning when I leave the house. Authority must be tempered by accountability of power. It must be tempered by accountability. You cannot have the name without also playing the game. You must stand responsible. Okay, very quickly, what are some of the aspects of total quality management? Is that a term which is familiar to you? Do you have TQM in your business curriculum? Some of you are in the business curriculum, yes? It stands for Total Quality Management, TQM. What we have learned from TQM is that when you want to measure something, the precise measurement of an irrelevant factor is not nearly as good as an imprecise measurement of what really counts. Many of us are so obsessed with something we can measure. We measure out to the 5th place. Unfortunately, it's not the measurement which means anything. So I have come to accept less precise measurement of more important variables. There is no such thing as an insignificant improvement. Every improvement is significant. As small as it might be, it is the sum of the insignificant of one day will in fact be quite significant. This is a term, if you don't know it, let me be the first to introduce it. It is the term benchmarking. Benchmarking is from the old craft. The man who would work or the woman would work at the jeweler's bench or the leather bench. And the way the apprentice would learn, he would stand at the foot of the master and would learn. And when the master finished his work, he would put his mark. He would sign it with a symbol, a sign, a guild mark. He would mark it. And we came to recognize certain quality coming from certain craftsmen. And we took this term to make it into a different part of speech, made it from benchmark to benchmarking. What it really means is in your life, find somebody who is doing what you would like to do as well as it can be done, and learn from that person. You see, you know the word plagiarism. That is a word you know well. That is verboten. That is not good. You do not want to take my speech and submit it to your professor tomorrow with your name. That is bad. But benchmarking, if something that I say excites you today, yes, please, use it tomorrow. It is not improper to take ideas from other people. You should give them credit. But it is not improper to take ideas. So if a university is succeeding, if this university succeeds, as it will, there will be many who will study your university. Use you, your students and your institution, as a benchmark to do their institution. And that is entirely healthy. And it is the highest form of praise that you can give. Empowerment is an important term. It means to give power to others. To give power to others. And this again relates to the kind of structure. A sense of ownership, and we'll bring this down. A sense of ownership. The enterprise must be jointly owned by the students, the faculty, the staff, the benefactors of the university. There is a pride in ownership. You will take care of someone. You will value this if, in fact, you feel it is part of you and you, in turn, are part of the enterprise. So you are at a very exciting point. You are at a very exciting point in your career. You are at a point in your country that is undergoing a major transition. That can either be a challenge or an opportunity. You are at a new university, a university that is trying to organize education in new and creative ways. You can wear that as a load around your neck, or you can see it as an opportunity to be part of something great. Think for a moment of the excitement 25, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, when you can tell your children, and perhaps your grandchildren, and other people, that you were amongst the first class to come from this university. This is a golden opportunity that has been given to you. You have to be ready for change. You have to be able to write the book for the first time. You will do it. You will be excited in doing it. You will contribute much to your country and to the world. I wish you well. Thank you. Took my wallet.
Niecałe 10 minut na pytania i odpowiedzi. Jeżeli ktoś chciałby zadać pytanie, to zapraszam. Możesz po angielsku, możesz po polsku przetłumaczyć. Proszę bardzo.
Rozumiem, że były pytania od Państwa w sprawie specyfiki studiów w Stanach Zjednoczonych. To jest najlepsza okazja, żeby je zadać.
Any question? If you have any question, it does not have to be related to this. If you have a question about education in the United States, or have a question about the United States, I'd be glad to try to respond. I am not a representative of the government, so I will give you my own personal opinion. Yes. The question Mr. President asked me, is it possible for you to study at Purdue University? The answer is yes. We have a web page. You can get all the information you need. The American educational system is slightly different than the Polish system insofar as you generally, if you are direct to the master's degree,
Bezpośrednie studia magisterskie.
you call it the direct entry.
Direct entry.
Direct entry. You would then have a master's degree, completing this degree, and you could enter an American university to study for the doctorate, for the PhD. Most, not all, but most PhD students are supported in their education. It will not only will it not cost you any money, but you will be salaried. So we will use you as teaching assistants. And so your English would have to be reasonable to be able to teach a class or to assist a professor in teaching a class. If your English was not good enough to do that, but you were brilliant in your discipline area, you might qualify for a fellowship, research fellowship, in which case you would not teach, but you would work directly on a research project for your professor or with your professor to earn the doctorate. But there are plenty of opportunities, and we are looking for good teaching assistants, not just my own university. In the United States, you will never find enough, there's never enough good teaching assistants who can speak English. English is important because that is the only language we offer classes, other than the fact, obviously we offer classes in languages if you're studying languages. But in engineering or in science or literature, letters, if you are studying English literature, the medium of exchange, the language, is English. But if you would like to know more about, we will, on the blackboard, We'll give you our worldwide webpage number, and you can access it, and you can find everything you want to know about Purdue University. It is a very large university. Our specialities are engineering, science, business, and pharmacy, and liberal arts as well. So if you are interested in any of those areas, in the United States we continually rank universities. And the ranking is good. So it's like sports teams. We get ranked as #1, then we are very proud and we use this ranking in our public relations. If we're not ranked very high, then we criticize the ranking and we don't use it. So we pick whatever we would like to pick. But we are very, very strong in many technical areas and in business, science, engineering, business. Our university is literally in the top 10 of the entire United States. There are over 3,000 institutions in the United States. So to be in a top 10 institution, the rankings of the business school are exceptionally high. Many of you may be interested in earning an MBA, Master of Business Administration. As a total school, you understand we have many different schools, as you have different schools on the campus. We have 10 schools, you have 4. Our business school, in the last ranking, was ranked in top 20 in all of the United States. But in the area of manufacturing business, we are ranked 2nd in the entire United States, only exceeded by MIT, and we will catch them, and we will pass them. But it is very strong for those of you who want to do business and relate it to a technical degree. We have a program that is opening in Hanover, Germany, same program that we have in the United States. We have a program in Rouen, France. Some of you will go to work for corporations, and your corporation will pay your tuition to go to earn an MBA. It is a very easy way to get a master's degree. Of course, you are then obligated to stay with the company for a number of years to repay them, but the cost of the degree would be covered by your company. After you have been with the company for a number of years, and they are sure they want to keep you, and they would like you to have some experience or advanced degree. So I advise you, it's very easy, www.purdue.edu. That is our web page address. Please access it, and let us hear from you after you have completed your degree here. You're talking about the faculty and the teaching assistants? Okay. The teaching assistants are assessed by their grades, their undergraduate or master's degree grades, also their TOEFL scores, foreign language test of English for foreign languages, TOEFL. You know that, yes? Very well. And in many departments, but not all departments, many departments, they'll want you to take the GRE, the Graduate Record Exam as well. The consulate in Krakow can help you, and you can get an application electronically just by dialing the graduate school. In a few years, we will have no hard paper at all. All of our transmissions will be electronic. What is your area of interest? Sociology. We have a very fine PhD program in sociology. Sociology would ask you to teach as a teaching assistant, and so they would look very carefully at your English language scores. They would also look at your GRE. They do require the graduate record exam. The areas of speciality within sociology, organizational sociology, is a very strong area. Industrial sociology is very strong, in addition to some of the other areas. You can actually access sociology's webpage. I don't know that exact address, but the webpage will give it to you, and you can see pictures and short biographies of the faculty, and they will tell you what their interest areas are. The other part of your question was how faculty performance is assessed. Faculty performance is assessed by a number of criteria. One, their scholarship is looked at. We expect our faculty to be active scholars. Purdue University is a research-intensive university. To give you just another number which is irrelevant other than to tell you the size of the operation, we last year did over $150 million in government or industrial research. We expect our faculty to publish. We expect them to publish in the best journals, to write books, and to be published by very fine presses. So one aspect is their own program of scholarship. We also assess their teaching. Students will submit reviews of the teaching, not to the instructor himself or herself, but to an independent laboratory. And we will get scores as to the preparedness, whether the teacher was a master of knowledge, related well to students, whether the exams are fair, whether the professor explained material, whether he or she was fair in grades. So we get a profile of faculty. We also watch faculty as they serve on various committees as to their commitment to the institution and whether they are good citizens, if you will, willing to take a turn on difficult committees, willing to extend themselves on behalf of the university. After they have been promoted to the rank of associate professor, everyone starts as an assistant professor. Then you go to an associate professor, and the final rank is a professor. Professor Skibniewski is a professor of engineering. And that is the highest rank you can achieve. And once you have reached the rank, the level of associate professor, you have what we call tenure. That is a promise of long-term commitment of the university, only to be separated if you misbehave, harass a student, perform in some unreasonable manner, or if the university loses its funding, then everybody will be unemployed, and tenure has no value. But it is not likely that that will happen. It is very rare that a professor misbehaves such that we have to dismiss the professor.
Ja preferuję odpowiedź na to. Yes, so I thank you very much for your nice lecture, and I wish you on behalf of all of us
Thank you very much. Thank you.